Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar today. We are doing Sports Are Back, Win the Baseball and Softball Business. I am Andy Curtis. I am the Senior Manager of Customer Service, Graphic Design, and whatever else they've put on my plate today here at Transfer Express. I've been with the company for 19 years, and I've been joining you guys on these webinars for a long time now. If you are new, if this is your first webinar, then welcome. I'm so glad you joined us. So we'll get a couple little housekeeping things out of the way here for you guys who are new. If you have questions as we go, I encourage you to pop that question into the chat box, and I will do my best to answer them. Now, keep in mind, if I'm in the middle of a thought or I'm answering something else or I'm talking about something else, I may miss your question. If that happens, then my helper behind the curtain will be there to answer that question for you. With all of that being said, I'm glad you all joined me today, and I'm even more glad, I'm even more thrilled that baseball is back. Baseball is back, yay! This is a good thing. I think we're all ready for baseball to be back, right? Especially for us as decorators. For us as decorators, it means that business is back. So, go Red Sox. Okay, well, we'll forgive you for that one, Dennis. Anyway, so needless to say, we're thrilled that baseball is back, and we're here to support you guys. We know that there are a lot of people who are out there ready to secure some baseball business, and we are here to help you figure out how to do that. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start with Win the Baseball and Softball Business. So we'll start off, here's the agenda today. We're going to talk about uniforms and how to decorate them. We're going to talk about how you can print your cap transfers for free. We're going to talk about numbering options. We're going to talk about team spirit wear, events, and team practice gear. So as always, a lot of information to cover here. Excuse me. And we've got about 45 to 60 minutes to do it. So we're going to cover a lot of info. And as always, like I mentioned earlier, we're recording this webinar. So if you do miss something, if you need to go back and hear something again, you'll be able to go to the recording. It'll be at transferexpress.com/webinars. Now, I am in a different office today, so I do not anticipate any technical problems. However, if there are any audio problems, remember to reconnect and remember to come check out the recording of the webinar. So with that being said, here's where we're going to start. Let's go ahead and start with uniform choices. So I want to point out to everybody that the information I'm going to give you here, especially when it comes to uniform choices like this, the information I'm going to give you is very generalized. I am 100% certain that you could find different leagues across the United States that would disagree with me, or that would prove me wrong, and maybe they have a different type of uniform that they prefer. But what I'm going to do at the very least is I want to show you some basics that we find are true across most leagues in the United States. So again, you're going to find leagues that could be exception to these rules, people who feel differently, leagues that have traditions or things they feel like they do instead. But again, the information I'm going to give you here is sort of a generalization of the most common practices across baseball in the United States. So when it comes to uniforms, the first thing is, what type of uniform are we talking about, right? Are we talking t-shirts? Are we talking polyester, like performance wear? Are we talking full button stuff or 2-button Henleys, or what are we talking about? So generally speaking, t-shirts are going to be for t-ball and youth leagues. So if you're dealing with kids, t-ball especially, but if you're dealing with t-ball and little kids, those are generally going to be t-shirts. So then you've got your polyester performance wear, your color block stuff. The next up from that would be like actual decorated uniform styles. And I'm going to go over examples of all these guys. I'm sure you're wondering what I'm talking about visually, and I'll show you some of these. The next step up from that would be 2-button Henleys. And then the next step up from that are the full button down guys like my guy in the picture here is wearing. So these are the standards for uniforms. Generally, every league that you talk to is going to fit into one of these 5 options. Okay, the hitch is going to be which option do they go with. Now, and like I said at the very beginning, there are other factors here. If you are from a part of the United States that doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of money, then you may have a league that opts for the cheaper option, even though that's not totally the standard. So you may have an adult league that goes for T-ball, or I'm sorry, that goes for T-shirts. And normally you don't see that happen necessarily, but again, especially now, we're all thrilled that baseball is back. We're all thrilled that sports are coming back and that COVID is winding down and all that. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of these leagues aren't going to have a whole ton of money to get the ball rolling this year. So you may very well have leagues that maybe they generally, maybe they're usually the type of leagues that go for Henleys, but they're going to take a step down this year because of what's going on and the amount of money they have to spend with. So keep in mind that money is a very big factor in which uniform choice that people do go with. It's going to come down to how much there is to spend on this and what everybody has to work with. So just a thought. But these are the 5 most common places to start when you're talking about baseball uniforms. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over each of these different options. We're going to talk about how to decorate them and all that good stuff. So let's start with T-shirts. This is the easy one. So again, T-shirts tend to be T-ballers, the young kids, or they very well could be a league that just doesn't have a ton of money for you this year, and that's why they're opting for T-shirts. Either way, T-shirts are a great ground level, a great first step. So when you're working with a league that wants to do T-shirts, you're going to want to stick to 1 or 2 color designs. Okay. If you've got a league that's starting with a T-shirt, then they don't have enough money to have a multicolored design. And now you're going to hear me say this a lot throughout this presentation, but as the garment decorators, we are the ones that have to guide the customers. Okay, you guys are the ones who are talking to those end users, and you guys are the ones that have to guide them. So if you get somebody who walks into your shop and they've got like a 4-color logo for a baseball team, but they want T-shirts, well, okay, something's a little out of whack there, right? You might have a 4-color design, but there's no way if you're springing for T-shirts, then you probably don't have the money to get a 4-color design, and you got to sort of pare those colors down a little bit, right? But either way, point being, if you're going to do T-shirts for baseball, we do suggest you stick to 1 or 2 color. And in that case, you go with Goof Proof, our screen printed transfers, right? So the Goof Proof is quick and simple, easy application, very cost effective for a 1 or 2 color design. Generally speaking, when you're doing T-shirts for baseball, you're going to have a common full front that the entire league will have. And again, keep in mind that I'm sure if I took a poll, I'm sure you guys have leagues that may do things a little differently. But I'm just giving you sort of the generalities, again, that you'll find across the United States. Okay, so in general, most youth leagues and T-ball leagues will have a common full front that goes on everybody's shirt. Okay, so the full front needs to be something very general, something very simple. Notice that ours just says Mentor T-ball, right? So this would be for like the Mentor Rec League here in Mentor, Ohio. All right, and we do. This is, excuse me, a good example. We are a suburb of Cleveland, not one of the larger suburbs, but we are a suburb of Cleveland, and we do have our own rec league. So job opportunity there when you're a decorator out looking for business, right? A common full front that goes on everybody's front, then each team will generally have a different color. So you'll notice that my young man here in the picture here is purple. So the Frosty Freeze team here would be purple. Now there would be another team then, they would have the same front, Mentor T-ball, but they would be a different color shirt and then a different sponsor on the back. And Steven, you're beating me to the punch, man. Exactly. Always try to steer them away from putting names on the back of youth uniforms. Absolutely. Names are an extra that are totally not necessary, especially when we're talking about the kids. And how often do we have it where the team loses a kid, gains a kid, loses a kid, gains a kid? It's nice to have uniforms that are interchangeable. Nice to have uniforms that don't have names on them, right? So each team has a different color. Then you put a number on the back and then a sponsor above the number. So you notice that obviously this kid's name is not Frosty Freeze. That's the sponsor that we're talking about instead. So what we've done here is we've mocked that up, and that's what you're seeing in the photograph. So you've got the sponsor above the number, you've got the kid's individual number, so that is his number, but instead of his name, we've got the sponsor, and then you've got the common full front. So now if you had another team that was Ace Hardware, they might be blue shirts, same Mentor T-ball front, and there would be the same numbers on the Ace Hardware team, but then instead of Frosty Freeze there, you'd see Ace Hardware, right? So again, this is sort of the generality of how youth jerseys, youth uniforms are done in baseball. Now, like I said, you're going to find other leagues that sort of think differently. And if you're from a well-to-do area, you might have youth leagues that do spring for something a little higher end than t-shirts. So again, you can't take this as gospel, but I'm giving you sort of a base level. This is a foundation to start your baseball education with. So before we move on to the next type of uniform, let's talk about sponsors for just a second here. So in my last example, the sponsors, you notice that the Frosty Freeze, I'll go back for just a second here. So we're going to talk about the sponsor, right? So in my picture here, the sponsor is the Frosty Freeze, right? So that sponsor is the one who has sponsored this purple team. So now the way to do this is you want your sponsors to be simple so you can print a whole bunch of them together, which is what we've done here. So sponsor sheets are something we've done here at Transfer Express for very many years. The idea is your sponsor is one line of text, and because your sponsor is one line of text, we can put a whole bunch on one sheet. And then make sure all of your sponsors are the same color. So you see in my example here, we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams worth of sponsors. All of those teams, none of them had white jerseys. They all had colored jerseys. So I could make the sponsors white. Then I put all the sponsors on one sheet of paper, printed them in white, and boom. So sponsor sheets are a very cost-effective way, to keep the cost of the uniforms down by being able to fit all these sponsors on one sheet of paper. So you notice in my example, we've got King Electric, East Bay Bank, East Bay Auto, GG's Cleaners, all on one sheet of paper. So that's 6 teams, 1 order. Okay, so again, make sure that you're using the same color for all of them. The first place that people will oftentimes put themselves in a pickle is they get one team that wants to have white jerseys and black text on it, and all the other teams are colorful jerseys that have white text. So this is a pain in the butt, because now you have to do a color change. Now you have to change up the way you're ordering. You have one sponsor that's got to be a different color. That can be very costly to you. So however you do it, you're going to want to make sure that all of your sponsors are the same color. And I'll say the same thing for numbers. I know we're not talking about numbers yet. I have numbers on a whole other slide, but I'll just throw this out there too. It's the same idea. You want to try to make all your numbers the same color, because if you're buying all the same color for a league, you save money. If you get that one team that wants to be black numbers instead of white numbers, well, now your price is going to be a little jacked up because you got to buy separate numbers for that one team. Right? Now, if you do have a situation like that, if you do have a situation where you need a sponsor in a weird color, we do have an option for you. You can use our Express Name product. So generally speaking, just like the name suggests, the Express Names are generally for player names. But if you needed, let's say in my example here that one of my sponsors, maybe GG's Cleaners, wanted to be yellow, or gold rather, instead of white, like you see in my photograph. If GG's Cleaners wanted to be gold, I could go and order 15 GG's Cleaners Express Names in gold ink. Okay, the pricing will be a little bit different, obviously, because they're not on the gang sheet with the rest of the sponsors, but it's definitely an option. So Freddie is asking a good question here. Freddie's asking, what if the customer requests different logos on the front? Will the different designs count towards the overall total sheets I order? The answer there, Freddie, is no. Those would be separate orders. So when you're dealing with a kids league or any league that doesn't have a lot of cash, I should really frame it that way. These do tend to be the youth leagues. But if you're dealing dealing with a league that doesn't have a lot of cash, Freddie, you definitely need to push them to order the same front on everything. And again, I encourage you all, you're going to hear me say this a lot, we are the decorators. We are the ones who know what we're doing. We're the ones with control. It is okay to tell a customer who has, maybe they have a request that's just a little bit not doable. Maybe in your example, Freddie, maybe you've got several teams and each team wants a different full front, but they don't have the money for it. It's okay for you to tell that customer that that's not the way to do things. Remember, we're the experts here and we need to guide the customers. So in a situation like that, we need to make sure that they're aware that, no, you really do need to use, especially if, again, if you're a league that doesn't have enough money, then you do need to use the same front on everything. Erica, very good question there, Erica, and you're 100% correct. Erica says if you have the same design on different color, and you only have to pay the color change fee, right? That is correct. So if I'm going to go back this slide one more time here. So in my example here, my Mentor T-ball design on the front here, you'll notice that it's sort of like a white and purple thing going on here. Maybe I wanted to make it. Maybe I wanted to change the color on that. I wanted to change the white to something else for a different color garment. As long as I've kept the entire design exactly the same, the text is the same, the clip art's the same, the size is the same, the only thing changing is I want some in a different color, then yes, you do a color change where we charge you a $15 color change fee, but then you get the better price break. Always cheaper that way. But back to our sponsors here. So like I was saying, sponsors, you want to make sure are all the same color, all straight plain text that we can put on one sheet of paper. Saves you a whole load of money. And you'll notice we have a couple different sponsor layouts that you can access in our online designer. And we'll talk more about the online designer in a minute. So don't jump on questions on that topic just yet, please. But so these are all sponsor layouts you can use in the online designer to help you with baseball orders. Now, you'll notice that some of these sponsors are different sizes. So if you look sort of halfway over here, my QSP7, those are taller sponsors than, say, the one at the very end, QSP3, or the one at the bottom there, QSP1. You'll find that depending on how many sponsors you have and how the league has arranged itself, some leagues have expectations for the size of their sponsors and some don't. Okay, so if you have a league that is looking to you to give them input on, well, okay, well, what size should our sponsors be? Obviously, the goal here is not to make the sponsors too small, because then it's upsetting. If you're a sponsor, if you're Ace Hardware and you paid for that team, and suddenly your name Ace Hardware is tiny on that uniform, then okay, well, I'm not going to want to sponsor that team next year. That's a ripoff. So my suggestion here is, first of all, establish if your league does have an expectation for how tall those sponsors should be. Once you know what that expectation is, we have a QSP layout, a sponsor layout that will accommodate that. If they turn to you looking for information, my advice would be to start with 2 inches tall. Generally speaking, there are a lot of leagues out there that will start with 2-inch tall sponsors. And again, I know there's others that will deviate. There's even leagues that'll do 1.5 inch tall sponsors, hence why we have sponsor sheets that size. But generally speaking, 2 inches is a good place to start. And very good point, Stephen. And also, if you're using youth size t-shirts, there's a limit on width too. 100% right. Yes. Remember youth extra smalls, especially those little kids. If you're doing t-ball and you're doing youth extra smalls, you do need to be thoughtful of the size that you're working with. Because remember, those extra smalls are going to be, much smaller than a normal size t-shirt. So good note there, Stephen. You're totally correct. All right, so the next step up from t-shirts would be performance tees. So we're talking about the polyester performance wear at this point, right? We're talking about that Under Armour style, dry fit, that kind of thing. So typically these are 100% polyester, and that means that they are probably heat sensitive. So I'm not going to bother to ask how many of you out there have scorched and burned a polyester t-shirt, because I'm sure it's the vast majority. I think we've all done this before. When performance wear was becoming a thing, I've been in this industry for far too many years, and I remember when performance wear was the hot ticket brand new thing on the street, and we were all struggling. Stephen, I don't believe you. we were all struggling to figure out how to decorate these things. I think we all scorched a couple pieces of performance wear, right? Um, so at the end of the day, when you're working with these types of polyester performance wear, please, please, please remember that they do scorch at a certain temperature. Now, here's the frustrating part. They don't all scorch at the same temperature. Some scorch a little hotter, some scorch a little cooler. At the end of the day, you need to make sure you have the right product. So from a Transfer Express perspective, the product that you want when you're doing performance wear is ElastiPrints. The ElastiPrints goes on at a much cooler temperature that will make sure that it does not scorch any of the performance wear that you might be using. Okay. So now it's worth noting that, again, performance wear is a step up from the whole t-shirt part of baseball uniforms. You can use performance wear for adults and kids alike. And again, you want to stick to one or two color. If you're working with performance wear, again, this is a team that probably doesn't have a boatload of money. Enough to afford performance wear, yes, but not enough to afford like a real baseball actual jersey. So again, you're going to want to stick to one or two color at this point. You're going to want to use the ElastiPrints. And again, perhaps a little more simple in this particular case, these uniforms consist of the team name on the front, some kind of team design on the front, and then a player name and number on the back. Okay, so now this is where we're getting into teams that will have different fronts for each team. So obviously the Panthers would be the blue shirts with the Panther transfer on the front. So now the next team, the Hopkins Hornets, would be a different color and would be a different design. So again, these are going to be leagues that have a little bit more money to work with because they're going to be able to afford different fronts on each one. Okay. Now, conversely, with that being said, if you have a league that approaches you, if you've got a T-ball league, a young kids league that does have the extra money and they can afford performance wear, you can still take some of the same things we talked about on the last slide with sponsors and with not doing the player name. You can still apply that same logic to performance tees if you want to. Again, I'm just giving you what the standards and the norms tend to be for the most part. All right. So the next step up after t-shirts and then performance wear, the next step up is a basic baseball uniform. So now when we say basic uniforms, and I've got my model number here on the bottom because I'm absolutely certain that somebody is going to ask this question. And you know what, Nick, you absolutely caught me there. A great one. So Nick Shapiro is asking, what about the new Goof-Proof low temperature formula? So here's the thing about that, Nick. Goof-Proof now applies at 325 degrees. I don't know if everybody's heard that yet. But our Goof-Proof product now applies as low as 325 for 12 seconds, just like Nick is pointing out here. The catch, Nick, is that there are some polyester performance wears, and I hate this about our industry, but this is how it goes. There are some polyester performance wears, Nick, that will scorch at 325 and some that won't. So I can't give you a good solid answer across the board there. If you have an extra performance wear garment and you can hit that sucker at 325 and see what it does, then you have your answer. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things where there's some performance wear that withstands heat a little better and some that doesn't. So 325 is still that sort of middle ground. This is why we suggest the ElastiPrints on performance wear, because the ElastiPrints goes on so cool. But fantastic question, Nick. Thank you. So anyway, so the next step up here would be basic uniforms, and you're looking at the Augusta Full Force 1682 ASG. So no buttons or anything like that. This is a real basic uniform. Okay, so this is going to be more cost effective than some of your, full button or Henley uniform, that kind of thing. So this is going to be for a team that's perhaps a little bit more serious, a little bit older. These might be full out adults, or these might be kids that are, long-time baseball players, maybe even high schools, that sort of thing. This is the type of uniform that is at least closer to being a traditional uniform, but not as expensive. So again, these are typically 100% polyester. And again, because of that polyester part, you're going to want to use ElastiPrints. ElastiPrints apply at the 290 degrees. Great cool temperature that you don't have to worry about scorching. So you're going to want to stick with the elastic prints. And again, we're sticking with 1 or 2 colors. You don't want to go crazy with the amount of colors here just yet. If you do have a full color design, it is possible at this point. There are some schools out there, there are some teams out there that once you get to this price level, they may want to spring for a full color design. If they do, you're going to want to go with our Ultra Color Soft. So full color, Ultra Color Soft, spot color, 1 or 2 colors, which we sort of still recommend at this point, spot color, elastic prints. And again, you'll see that these uniforms tend to consist of the team name on the front, player name on the back, and then a number on the back. Now, in our case here, we've just given you an example of also putting the number on the front too. Ooh, Virginia, good question. Good question. Okay, so if you guys don't absorb anything else I say today, I want you to absorb the question that Virginia asks here and what the answer is going to be. So Virginia is asking, can a heat press pillow be used on the elastic prints? That is a big honkin' no. No, 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 no. Never, 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 ever, ever, never use a pillow with a Transfer Express product. Now, heat press pillows are totally acceptable. There are plenty of vinyl and film products, HTV products out there that you do want to use a pillow on, but you do not ever, ever, ever want to use a pillow when you're applying Transfer Express transfers. A quick physics lesson, and then we'll get back to the topic on hand. So a heat press pillow, for those of you who've never seen one, it's like a Teflon pillow is another name for them. It's a squishy material. It squishes between your fingers. It's soft, and it has a lot of give to it. And when you put a pillow, exactly, Nick, when you put a pillow in a garment, that pillow absorbs all the pressure that the heat press is creating. So a Transfer Express transfer requires heat and pressure to properly adhere to a garment. The heat press is hot enough, obviously, but if you don't have the pressure is what makes the ink want to come off the paper. So if you put pillow up inside a jersey and then you apply a transfer with that pillow, the adhesive will activate. It will want to stick to the shirt, but without any pressure to create that desire to stick, it's not going to. It may come off the paper. It might even look okay at first, but as soon as somebody puts that thing in the washing machine, that transfer's coming right off. So no, you do not ever, ever, ever want to use a pillow when you're pressing transfers. If you have an obstacle, for example, the jersey in the picture here, you'll notice how Scottsdale is applied very close to her collar. Which is genuinely, that's a little bit of an obstacle there. So how do we apply that without making sure, that the collar's not in the way? You could either A, let that collar hang off the edge of the platen, or B, if you do want to put something up inside the jersey, you put something firm up inside the jersey, like a Print Perfect pad or a mouse pad or a book. I had a customer once take a whole bunch of really thick corrugated cardboard and sort of use that. Not a great option, but that works too. The whole point is, if you do want to put something up inside the garment to raise the surface area, make sure it's something firm, okay? All right, so the next step up after basic baseball jerseys, the next step up is the 2-button Henley. So 2-button Henleys are sort of a classy, it's that step up where it's not a button-down jersey. Of course, we all associate those full button jerseys as like the pinnacle of baseball uniforms. The 2-button Henley starts to get there, looks semi-professional, looks good, but it's not that full cost, and it's oftentimes a lot more cost-effective than those full button jerseys, right? So this is a great cost-effective option for a team that's almost there with the amount of money they have to spend, but not quite there. So these 2-button Henleys tend to be polyester as well, which means elastic prints. So you see these a lot with travel teams. These are the teams that are the serious kids, the ones that didn't sign up through high school, the ones that are going out and looking for the leagues. They're a little bit older. These are the kids that have been playing for a long time, the ones that are going to make something of this, you know, when they get to high school and college, perhaps, if they're a little bit older. So travel teams, you see, are the ones that it's more of a serious hobby at that point, right? Or even beyond hobby at that juncture, I'm sure. So again, if you're going to do spot color, you want to stick to 1 or 2 colors, and you want to do elasti prints, which is what we've done in this photograph here. Or if you're going to do full color, then you go ultra color soft. And at this point, with teams that have this kind of money, these travel teams, these are teams that can start to afford the full color artwork for sure. These tend to consist of the player name on the back, the team name on the front, the number, and then the league logo. Okay, so when you have these travel teams, they're going to have some kind of league logo. Now, again, this is not a rule necessarily. This is just one of those things that you do see a lot of. And when you have the travel teams like that, those leagues have a specific logo, and they may even have a place where they expect you to press it, to be honest with you. So it comes down to having to be aware of what the league expectations are, what the rules are. There are some leagues that even dictate like the colors of their logo and the size and where it's got to go and all that kind of stuff. A good example of this, to be honest with you, is the Little League of America. Little League has very, very specific rules about how their logo, when you print the Little League logo, how it has to be done, where it has to go, that kind of thing. So Mark's got a good question here. So if it's polyester, why not sublimation? Sublimation is an option, Mark, certainly. If you've got the right kind of polyester garments, the problem with sublimation is that there's still lots of hoops to jump through with sublimation. It's still not something that's fully accessible to everybody. If you've got a sublimation printer or you've got a guy who can do your sublimation for you, then more power to you there for sure. But there's a lot of pain and adjustment that goes into sublimation. So this is something that you can more easily do quickly yourself with a heat press, and that's sort of why we're pushing this idea, right? And like Tanera is pointing out here, sublimation does not print the white, so that of course would mean you'd have to be careful about your logos, your colors, and what colored jerseys you buy and all that stuff. Like I said, the whole point with sublimation is there's a lot of flaming hoops you got to jump through. Okay, so 2-button Henleys, second to best when it comes down to the types of uniforms, the style, the amount of money that you're spending, that sort of thing. Good professional look, but good cost point for you. And then the pinnacle of baseball jerseys and baseball uniforms, you've got the full button option. So these are obviously the ones that are the most expensive. These are the ones that are real high quality. These are the ones where you don't see kids in these. You see, these are the older high schoolers. These are the older kids, college age, adult, that sort of stuff. These are the jerseys that are expensive, right? And these are the jerseys that require a little bit more pain on your side, a little bit more difficult to apply. So you'll notice here that in my photograph on the left here, I have a red full button jersey that we are trying to apply on there. And you notice what we've had to do is we've had to cut the jersey in half, or cut the transfer in half rather, because the jersey has that split up the middle. Okay, so you see in my photograph, we've applied that King's transfer over the split in his jersey. And we've done so by buttoning the jersey up, laying it flat on the heat press, seeing where the transfer would fall, and then cutting it with a pair of scissors right where that split would happen. So these are a little bit harder to do. This is an advanced application. This is something that if it's your first time, if you've never done one of these before, give yourself extra time and give yourself extra garments. It's a little expensive the first time you do a split front because it is a little bit of a pain in the butt. Once you've done it, you see it's not too terrible, but it's definitely an adjustment because you have to cut each transfer where the split falls on the jersey. So what you end up having to do is take the transfer, put it down on the garment, note where that split is, and then take a pair of scissors and cut. All right, so let's talk about some tips here. So names, player names. Now, player names are one of those things where even if you don't get the league order, you can offer a name service. Okay, you can offer to charge people $3 to $5 per shirt. Okay, our cost for names is under $2. So if you add names to something, and this can be even for spiritware, parents, that kind of stuff, offer your customers to add their name to something for $3, $4, $5 a pop, because you're paying less than $2 for that name. It's a great add-on. It's a fantastic do you want fries with that style product for you guys. And write this down, everybody. Are you ready? Write this down. If you're going to order names in the month of March 2021, for every $50 you spend, you can get $5 off. $50 you spend, you get $5 off using the coupon code TNAME5. TNAME5. All right, I'm going to give everyone a minute here. So coupon code, this is only good for March 2021. If you call me up on April 1st and ask me for this coupon, the answer is going to be no. So March 2021, for every $50 you spend, $5 for $5 off. And you'll use coupon code TNAME5. Now, please note, everybody, this is only for website orders. If you call in to order names or call in to order, then we can't use the coupon code. You have to go online and you have to order online. But fantastic savings there. So for every $50, you get $5 off. That's a fantastic sale on player names for sure. And again, my helper behind the curtain has revealed that he has spelled my my coupon code wrong. Teen names. Okay, so my slide is spelled wrong. TNAMES5 is the coupon code, and my helper is very sorry for spelling that wrong. TNAMES5 is the coupon code. And this is in Express Names. Yes, this is our Express Names product. TNAMES5. Okay. So let's talk about numbers. So team numbers come in 4, 6, 8, and 10-inch. Oh, helper fired. I can't fire him, Stephen. He's been with the company a long time, and he's been doing these webinars with me as long as I've been doing them. So he's not fired, but I'll yell at him later. Numbers come in 4, 6, 8, and 10-inch. They are sold in 5 packs. So you can buy individual digits in packs of 5. You can buy team packs, and then you can buy league kits. All right. So individual digits in packs of 5, or a team pack includes 15 of the number 1 and 5 of every other digit, or a league kit is enough numbers for you to number 15 teams, 1 to 15. So those are the ways that these numbers are sold. And again, screen printed numbers. So this is plastisol ink. This is not heat transfer vinyl. This is screen printing, plastisol ink. We sell these in goof-proof, elastiprints, and AquaTrue. If you need goof-proof numbers, plain old goof-proof numbers, those are Champ. If you need elastiprints for polyester, those are called Champ Pro. And then if you need AquaTrue for nylon, lycra, or spandex, those are called AquaChamp. All right. So we have numbering options for all the different types of jerseys you could possibly want. They are super simple to apply. They apply in just seconds. And I'm going to show you on the next slide how easy it is to line these numbers up. So you see in my slide here, I've got Lawrence number 12. Lorraine says it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. We forgive him. Well, thank you for that, Lorraine, and we appreciate that. Okay, so again, these numbers apply in seconds. They're easy to line up. You see my Lawrence 12 here. My Lawrence 12 looks like I had to bust out a ruler and a T-square to get those lined up properly, right? Totally not necessary. So you can line these up just by using the sheets of paper themselves. So my photograph on the left is the transfers laid down on the garment before I pressed it. So you'll notice this is a number 23 and a player name. What I've done is I've put my player name at the top, and then I've put my 2 and 3 up against each other. So the edges of the paper are touching. And then I've pushed the top of the 23 up against the bottom of the player name. We call this perfect pairing. So you can put all these things together. You can line all these pieces of paper up this way, butt them up against each other, and they're all perfectly spaced. Okay, so the number 23, the two and the 3 are butted up against each other, and then we push the top of the 23 up against the bottom of the express name strip. All right, so real quick, wham, bam, done. So no T-square, no ruler necessary, super easy. Christy is asking a fantastic question, and actually, this is one of those things where the funny part about this is a question that we wouldn't have had a couple years ago, but in the last few years, you see a lot more uniforms, you see a lot more garment types that have this 5% spandex. Christy is asking, if the jerseys have only 5% spandex, can you get away with elasti prints, or do you need to go with AquaTrue? And I hate to say this, Christy, but you do have to go with AquaTrue, yes. If you have a garment that has any spandex at all, you have to switch from elasti prints to AquaTrue. And the reason for this is spandex stretches more than elasti prints is capable of stretching. Okay, so in that case, when you have any spandex at all, you definitely need to switch over to the AquaTrue. The AquaTrue has enough give for spandex. The elasti prints do not, so you'll want to do that. Okay, back to my spacing here. Sorry about that, guys. So thank you, Mary. It is genius, right? Robert is asking, how far do you recommend the name be placed? So this is a science, Robert, and I'm sure that if we polled everybody in this webinar right now, everybody has a different strategy for this. So I went to the old school method of heat pressing, to be honest with you. When I started 19 years ago, and we didn't really use rulers, we cheated. I go 3 fingers down. So 3 fingers width down is where I tend to start. Now, depending on how old the age range of the people whose shirts you're doing, 3 fingers might not be enough, or it might be too much. But for a standard, just a usual average adult, I start 3 fingers down, 3 finger widths down from the collar, and that's where I start my name. Now from there, I may adjust. Brian uses 4 fingers. So I'm Italian, Brian, so I have really thick fingers, so that's why I use 3 fingers. But yes, and there's the trick you see a lot of people use is the fingers, whether it's 3 or 4. And again, it comes down to preference here too. I'm one of those people where I like things to be a little higher up personally, but that's just me. But anyway, so you see how easy it is. You see how easy it is to do a player name and a number without having to bust out the T-square, the ruler, any of the measuring stuff real quick. So now this is a question that I'm surprised none of you guys have asked yet, because there's one person in every webinar when we talk about baseball every year. There's one person who asks this question. So inevitably, there are going to be those weird, rare teams that ask you for really tiny numbers for something. Okay, really tiny numbers. So 1 inch, 2 inch, 2.5 inch, 3 inch, little itty bitty numbers. You can do that. Keep in mind that we don't stock those numbers, so you can't purchase just packs of them like our regular numbers, but you can still make them using our Express Names product. Okay, using our Express Names product, you can order a strip like you see in the photograph here, where instead of a name like Smith or Sanchez, we've done a list of numbers, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1. So by doing it this way, you purchase that one strip express name and you get all those digits. So you can still do small numbers, and it's very cost effective because we're talking about the cost of an express name, right? The cost of an express name, very cheap, very cost effective, very easy to do. Now, if you're doing 1-inch numbers, you can fit 8 digits in a row. 2-inch, you can fit 12. 2.5, you can fit 10, and 3, you can fit 8. So super simple. Poor Eddie. Eddie, so it's that's kind of what we were talking about. It depends on the thickness of your fingers, Eddie, to be honest with you. I think everyone's kind of got a different preference. I personally go 3 fingers down, but I have really thick fingers. If you have smaller fingers, you might go 4 fingers down. Remember, this is not science. And I encourage everybody to keep this in mind. If you're doing your first league of jerseys, if this is your first time doing a project this big, please do remember that this is not a precise science, okay? If you do something just a smidge differently, that's totally okay. So if you decide that you like 4 fingers down better than 3 fingers, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I personally, like I said, I like to move things a little higher up. That's just me. I like the way that looks. I have a thing. If I see too much space, I don't like the way that looks personally. That's just me. But keep in mind that, this is not a precise science. Things don't have to be 100% exact from person to person. Everyone's going to have a little different thing they do, right? Okay. All right. So at the very beginning of this, I mentioned caps being printed for free. How do you print your caps for free? Here's how you do it. Gang sheets. So gang sheets mean that you purchase the whole sheet of paper the transfer comes on, okay? Whether we're talking about the Elasti-Prints, or we're talking about the Ultra Color, or we're talking about the Goof Proof, you're purchasing the full sheet of paper. So why not make use of that full sheet of paper? In my example here, you see my Scottsdale Diamonds. I was able to put Burbank All-Stars and Lady Tigers all on the same Ultra Color sheet. But I also was able to do a very small Diamonds, All-Stars, and Tigers on the same sheet also. So I was able to do her front of her uniform plus her visor, and that visor didn't cost me a single penny more for the transfer. Obviously, you've got to pay for the visor, but the transfer didn't cost me a single penny more because I put it on the gang sheet with the other transfers. You don't pay any extra by having that gang sheet. So fill that sheet up. Put as much as you can on there. And the same thing can be said for the screen print. In my picture here, I'm using Ultra Color as an example. But the Ultra Color, the Elasti-Prints and the Goof Proof can still accomplish the same thing. The paper's a little bit smaller. Steven, yeah, you charge your customers if you did, though, right? So you guys, my point is, you guys can totally save money here. By using the gang sheets, you can get the transfer for the hat at 0 extra cost, but you're going to charge your customer for the printing still. Absolutely. That's the whole name of the game here, right? So the whole point here is take advantage of your gang sheets. Now, if you're dealing with a league, maybe you're one of the people who we were talking to earlier who was doing T-shirts, and maybe you've got a little kids league. Maybe they're not doing hats or visors. You do see this happen. If you've got a league that is really strapped for cash, they might not do hats or visors at all. In that case, you can still take advantage of the gang sheets by adding things like mom or dad. And when we get to the topic, we're going to talk about spirit shirts in just a second here. And that's where things like mom and dad can be cut off of one transfer and added to another one. So by all means, take advantage of the space on gang sheets and put stuff on there that you can cut off and use. Sherry, you know what? I didn't really bring that up. So Sherry's got a good question here. Sherry's asking, did you talk about printing on sleeves, printing sleeves on long sleeves or on pant legs? And you know what? I didn't actually, Sherry. And the reason I didn't is because not a lot of leagues necessarily do that. Or maybe I shouldn't say not a lot, but it's not like one of the common team practices. It's more common in the last 3-4 years, I think. well, not so much 2020, but point being, you do see some teams, leagues that will want you to put maybe a sponsor on the sleeve, or maybe they're doing the team name on the pant leg, that sort of thing. So when you have challenging things like that, first of all, Sherry, when you have that kind of thing, you're still taking advantage of the gang sheet, right? So in my same example here, instead of putting that diamonds on her visor, we could have very well put that same diamonds. It's actually sized exactly the same. You could have put that diamonds, you could have put on her bicep across her short sleeve, right? Or you could have put it on the thigh of her pants. So you still do the same type of gang sheet. You still do the same type of gang sheet. But the point is, Sherry, when you have that type of application, you need to think ahead to how you're going to apply it, right? So if you're applying on a short sleeve, I very much recommend having a cap press for that. Now, if this is not a regular thing, if you're not going to do sleeves all the time, then buying a cap press just to press on sleeves, that's a little bit cost ineffective. We totally recognize that. But if you do have the money, if printing on sleeves is something you're going to do a lot of, or printing on the pant leg of shorts, using a cap press is far easier than anything else. I guarantee you. If you're not going to go that direction, if you don't have the money to purchase a hat press just to do sleeves or pant legs, that sort of thing, you can still do it on a regular shirt press, on a regular flatbed shirt press. But that's when you're going to want to bust out your Print Perfect pads, not pillows, not soft, squishy stuff, but those more rigid, more hard Print Perfect pads. Okay, something a little bit more stiff. So here's the cruddy thing. If you don't have a hat press and you're going to do short sleeve transfers like that, then it is a little bit of a juggling act to be able to get just the sleeve to stay on your press. So that's where the Print Perfect pad comes into play. And I'm not going to lie to you in that case, Sherry, you're going to want to have an extra garment or two because you're going to mess up one or two of them. It does take some practice, but it is totally doable. It just sort of turns into a physics thing, right? It's almost like having a physics test right there in front of you on your heat press, but you can do it. Okay, so there we go. All right, so let's talk about baseball tournaments. So baseball tournaments, this is different than your regular baseball uniform business, okay? Because the uniforms, there's obviously a different budget. There's a certain amount of money they're trying to work within. Tournaments is a whole different beast. So tournaments are an elective thing, right? If you have been asked to do tournament shirts, then this is where you go all out. Remember that people aren't going to default purchase a tournament shirt. A tournament shirt is optional. You want to make them want that tournament shirt. So if you're doing tournaments, and now this is true really for any sport. We're just talking about baseball today, but you can keep this in mind for other sports too. If you're doing a tournament shirt, you have got to give them something creative. And this is where, remember, we are the garment decorators. We are the ones who control this. Think outside the box. Find something cool for that tournament. Find something different. Find something that people are going to notice and want. That's how you get tournament sales. And in this case, I encourage you to use full color. Don't use spot color. Don't use goof proof or elastic. Go with ultra color. Like in my example here, we've got our red, white, and gray, white, or gray, red, and blue, but still our American flag baseball here. This is a fantastic example of a full color design. You know what, Dawn? I am about 99% sure this is a stock design. Yes, perhaps my helper actually knows the layout number or the clip art number. Once upon a time, I could have told you that off the top of my head, but I'm not sure now. I'm pretty sure that is our baseball, though, yeah. But anyhow, so this is just one example of a tournament design. The point is, use full color. Get colorful, get unique, get different, draw them in, make it a must-have. And remember that when you're figuring how many tournament shirts do you think you're going to sell, the general number here, and this can change, the general number is at least 10% of people will purchase. Now, If you come up with a kick butt design, could be more than 10%. If the weather gets cruddy and not many people come out, or it's, the year after COVID and not everybody's got a lot of money to burn, then maybe it's going to be a little bit less than 10%. But the point is 10% is a good place to start. Oh, there we go, Dawn, QBA 318. All right, so some tournament tips. Take your heat press with you. Take your heat press with you. Pressing on location is fantastic because you don't waste any shirts, you don't waste any transfers, you don't have anything left over that you can't use in some capacity. So pressing on location is a fantastic strategy. All right. And you never know when the weather is going to reduce the number of events or pandemics, when a pandemic hits and reduces the number of events. So when you do press on location, carry one event shirt. Okay, so one shirt that is for the actual tournament, and then have other designs that are just general designs. So for example, if we're talking about baseball, you're going to take your heat press with you. You're going to have one design that is just for your baseball tournament. That's all it's for. But then you're going to come up with maybe one or two other really clever, unique general baseball designs that don't necessarily have to do with the tournament that you can sell as add-ons. Remember, you've got a captive audience, man. Sell to those folks. And good add-ons. So good things to have, numbers, positions, mom, dad phrases. These are all great things to add. So if you've got a tournament shirt and you have, maybe you did a couple express names that say first base, second base, third base, shortstop, that sort of stuff, to charge an extra $5 just to slap shortstop on the kid who is the shortstop on his shirt, that's a win for you. And I encourage everybody here, we have a free ebook. We have a free ebook, 10 Things to Know About Heat Printing at Events. That ebook is phenomenal. I encourage you all to hit that link and download that ebook for free. It is super useful if you are thinking about doing heat printing on location at all. I also encourage you to look up our webinar on this topic, not just because I did the webinar, but because super useful information. That webinar can be found at transferexpress.com/webinars. And you are very much correct here, Dawn. People love to design their own shirts. If you give people some add-ons to mess with, numbers and names, even letters, that kind of thing, if you give people some things that they can customize with, then, people will just lose their minds. You'll have people at your booth all night. We see it happen all the time. So practice gear. Now, this is another one of those things where this is going to be for a team that's got a little bit more cash. You're not going to be able to cash out on practice gear when we're talking about youths, t-ball, that sort of stuff. But when we're talking about travel teams, when we're talking about teams that can afford a button-up, if you have a team that can afford a full button-up jersey, you've got a team that can probably afford some practice wear. And this is your opportunity now as a business owner and as the person who knows best. Remember, you're the expert here. You're the expert. When somebody walks into your shop and they have the money for a 2-button Henley or they have the money for a button-down jersey, they've got the money that you could upsell them on performance wear for practice. Or maybe team t-shirts, right? Team spirit t-shirts or team roster shirts. Team roster shirts are a phenomenal add-on for you guys. Every coach, right? Every coach or every team, we see this so much throughout baseball season where you put the roster of all the kids on the back of the shirt and maybe the team logo on the front of the shirt, that sort of thing. Roster shirts are super popular, right? But other practice gear like shorts, bat bags, personalized slide sandals, helmet decals, window decals, right? Mom and dad need stickers for their car that says proud mom, proud dad of a Fullerton Warrior, that sort of thing. Yes, Tina, we do have helmet decals now. We don't actually call them helmet decals. We call them all-purpose stickers. But you'll find them on our website, Tina, as all-purpose stickers. Or there you go. There, thank you. There's the website too. All right, so how to set up a gang sheet here, and here's an example of actually exactly what I was talking about. So this is a example of a screen printed gang sheet. This is a 2-color. Now this could be an ElastiPrint or this could be a goof proof, either one. You'll notice that we have totally taken advantage to every square inch of space on this gang sheet. We have got a full-size big design there, Velocity softball with the pitcher there winding up, a really slick-looking design. We've got the Velocity tail and swoop by itself in big size and small sizes. And remember, those small sizes could go on pant legs. They could go on hats. They could go on virtually anything. They could go on can koozies. And then you notice we also had enough space to put a mom and a dad. Again, a perfect add-on. So now when Velocity needs to do spirit shirts, you've already got some moms and dads that you could use. And again, you tack on $4 or $5 just to add mom or dad to something, right? Anyway, so how we've done this, how we've set this gang sheet up, we've gone to transferexpress.com and we've accessed the Design Center. So the Design Center is towards the top of the page. You can't miss it. So go to the Design Center, and in this case, you just add. You can add text. You can add a layout, and the difference here is adding text is just a single line of text. So if you're just going to add mom, add text. If you're going to add an entire design, you go to add layout. So Dennis, this is a good question. Dennis says, I get lost in the online designer. Is there somewhere I can get help with that? So yes, Dennis, there are 2 ways that you can get help. If any of you out there are the type of people where you get into the Design Center and, oh my gosh, there's just so much happening. It's confusing. There's a lot to click on. In the Design Center, there are some training videos that you can access at the very tippy top top right of the page. You can access some design training videos on the Design Center, or call in. If you call in, the reps on the phone will be more than happy to walk you through anything you could possibly want to walk through on the Design Center. So you can either watch the videos or you can call in and we can walk you through it. But point is, you go into the Design Center, add text, add layout, or add your artwork. Once you've got the artwork or the text, whatever it is, once you've got it added, you reposition everything. You'll notice that in the Design Center, you can see it here on my slide, there's a dotted line that goes around the outside. That dotted line is the piece of paper that you're purchasing. So fill that paper up. If you still have space, you can put more stuff on there. For example, we probably could have crammed one more mom or dad behind the baseball players back there if we'd wanted to. It would have been a close cut, but we might have been able to do that. So John, you can choose to have your gang sheet cut apart, yes, but keep in mind, John, there are limitations to what we can cut. So a good example is the gang sheet you see in my photo here. This is a gang sheet that we would not be able to cut apart because our cut apart process has to be straight lines, and obviously you can see here that none of these cuts would be straight. These would all be all kinds of scissor cuts you'd have to do to cut this gang sheet apart in my example. But if you do a very simple gang sheet where there are straight cuts, then yes, you can opt to have a gang sheet cut apart, and we can do that for you. And Jennifer, is the Design Center artwork considered easy print pricing? So Jennifer, if you use our text in clip art and layouts, yes. But you'll notice the bottom blue button there says add your artwork. If you add your artwork to the Design Center, then it becomes a plus. It becomes custom at that point. Okay. Eric's asking a very good question here. What are the types of transfers that can be ganged? And you know what, Eric? I'll give you an easy answer. Any transfer that's not a CAD print. Our CAD print product here at Transfer Express is the one product that can't be gang sheeted. Everything else can be gang sheeted. All right, we're running a little late here, so I'm gonna get through these last couple slides. So spiritware. Spiritware can be more profitable than the actual league itself. If you have a league that has a good parent following and a good family following and a good presence in the community, you can sell the snot out of some spiritware. And again, this is where those extra moms and dads that we had on our gang sheet, this is where they come in super useful, right? In my picture here, you notice we've got Augusta baseball. It was a real plain design, and all we did was stick a mom in the middle of the baseball, and boom, you've got a baseball mom shirt. And that shirt can easily go for $25, $30. Spiritware tends to be larger sales. Every child playing generally has a couple parents, a couple grandparents that are ready to support them. Now, you can also run Spiritware as a fundraiser for the league, right? So if you make the arrangements with the league and they can help you advertise it, you can agree to give a percentage of what you make at the Spiritware sale back to the league. Not only does that help you, because they're going to obviously help you advertise your sale, but this ingratiates you with that league. They're going to want to come back to you because you help them raise money this way. And obviously, you can use a flyer, or you can use an e-commerce platform. And to that effect, Stahl's Spirit Sale is the perfect e-commerce platform for you. If you're going to do Spirit shirts, you can purchase Stahl's Spirit Sale. So it's an annual fee. There are no hidden charges. And for this annual fee, you can make any amount of online stores. You could make a store for each team you deal with. You give them the URL to that store. They can go there. They can order the shirts they want. It's a real quick wham bam done way of doing spirit sales. And it doesn't have to be just baseball. This can be any sport. It can be non-sports related stuff, frankly. So Stahl's Spirit Sale is a fantastic e-commerce platform. Definitely something to check out. If you are interested, feel free to give us a call and ask us, or drop us an email and ask us. We'd be happy to give you more information on Spirit Sale. Or, oh, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. There is the link in the chat box right there if you're interested in Spirit Sale. Definitely something to check into if you're looking to get an online e-commerce presence going, right? Freddie Calloway is asking, I know you guys sell blanks. Is there a way, is there somewhere I can create mock-ups? Yes, Freddie, actually, that's our design center. So in our design center, after you put a design together, you will notice at the bottom right-hand part of the page, there is a button that says share, where you can actually put your design on a garment and see what it'll look like and create a mock-up. So check that out. Whoo! Welcome back. Play ball. So there you go, guys. That is baseball for 2021. Thank goodness it's back. Thank goodness we're back into sports again. I'm sure we are all absolutely thrilled. I know that we here at Transfer Express, we're very excited to see that a lot of sports are coming back. We're glad to see it. So welcome back, everybody. Let's play ball. Okay, thank you so much for attending today. I am so sorry we went over by 10 minutes. If you've joined me before, you know I'm a talker, so totally my fault. Sorry about that. So thank you for joining us today. If you have any suggestions about things you'd like to see in the future for webinars, please email us at info@transferexpress.com. I would be thrilled to present to you any webinar you would like. You tell me what you want to see. Call us 1-800-622-2280. If you have never checked out our blog, please take a minute to go to blog.transferexpress.com. We have won industry awards for how informative and educational our blog is. Our marketing people are phenomenal. Our blog is updated regularly with interesting information. I enjoy reading our blog, and I've worked here for forever. So definitely hit up our old webinars at transferexpress.com/webinars as well. And trade shows are a thing too. We're going to be back at trade shows here. So come check us out. We will be in Texas. I personally will not be in Texas, but we will be at the Texas NBM show that's coming up here. So come join us. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your presence today. I appreciate you asking so many questions. You guys were a fantastic audience. And keep in mind that you guys are going to be getting emails with the slides and stuff, all the information. And if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today, and have a fantastic rest of your afternoon.